What's up guys? Today we're going to be checking out an entire PSB home theater setup. So shout out to the guys at PSB for sending these speakers over for me to review. Thank you guys. If you guys had seen the earlier video that I did about these speakers a few months ago, I already did the unboxing, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna go today and just do this really quick and go over the tech specs so you guys don't have to go back and watch that video. But I've got three different models here. I've got the PWM1, PWM2, and the PWM3. We're gonna go by each one, spec, size, and all that good stuff. These speakers are meant to be on your wall. If you take a look around back, you can see there are some little slots where you can put some screws in your wall and just hang them like that itself, or it does come with a mounting bracket. These are bi-wireable or bi-ampable, as you can see by the jumpers here. Nice quality binding posts. You can see every model has the same exact drivers. They've got 1-inch ferrofluid cooled titanium dome tweeter. It's got a 4-inch woofer. This one's got 2. If you step up to the PWM2, which is the next model up, the same 1-inch titanium dome tweeter, you get the same 4-inch woofers, and on the bigger versions, you do get 2 3-inch mid-range drivers. And they connect up to the wall the same way with the same mounting bracket or the little slots if you just want to run some nails in your walls. Bi-ampable, bi-wireable as well. And then the next model up is the big one. This one, again, same 1-inch titanium dome tweeter, 2 3-inch mid-range drivers, but here you get 4 4-inch woofers for extra deep bass. And if we're gonna go size-wise, 48 inches wide by about 3 1/4 inches deep, and height-wise, it measures about 6 1/4 inches in height. And the PWM2 is about 35 3/4 inches long. And then for the smaller one, this one comes in at about 28 inches long. I'll put the exact measurements on screen. And since those speakers are so slim, thin, and shallow, they sent me 2 of their 10-inch subwoofers. These guys are passive subwoofers, and if you couldn't tell, just like the speakers, are pretty thin and slim as well. So this guy does have kind of a flat piston 10-inch driver on the front. Size-wise, we are looking at approximately 15 inches wide. It's about 3 3/4 inches in depth. And then height-wise, we are looking at about 15 1/2 inches in height as well. It's almost a perfect square. And it does weigh about 32 pounds. Comes with this optional base that you can add to it or not add to it. So it would sit on top of this base like so, and you would screw the base in from the bottom to the bottom of the sub. So you have a nice little stable platform. And the really cool thing about this is if you look at the feet, you've got 4 feet, but these feet are actually made by isoacoustics. So it's pretty cool. It'll keep it decoupled from the ground. So hopefully it keeps some of the vibration away from your downstairs neighbors. And another cool thing about this subwoofer is that not only can you put it on the base and mount it on your floor, keep it on your floor, but they got these little brackets that come in the box. You can also mount this on your wall. So you put the bracket on your wall and you can just attach this to the back of your wall. So if you wanted to, you could take some of these subwoofers and mount them either underneath the speakers themselves or next to the speakers, hide them behind your screen or wherever you want, and you can just make those speakers full range if you wanted to. And since it is so thin, you could also slide it underneath your couch. So you could use this as kind of like a bass shaker slash butt kicker slash crowson if you wanted to. And if you couldn't tell that this is a passive subwoofer, which needs to be powered by their own amplifier, this is the Custom Sound CS500W subwoofer amp. This is a 500 watt amp. It'll power 2 subwoofers. It's your standard 17 inches wide. It's fairly thin. Up front here, you get your little LED display, your little selection knob. Power button is on the opposite side. You get the PSB logo. Flip it around. You've got your unbalanced RCA inputs and outputs, 12-volt trigger, IR, mini USB for updates. Get your little Phoenix connectors here as your speaker outputs. So you will need a little screwdriver to get in here to connect your bare wire. Speaker selection switch for either channel 1 or 2. And then you get your main power switch. So what they sent me was 2 of these guys for the back speakers, 2 of the PWM2s for the side surrounds, 3 of the PWM3s, which are gonna go behind my screen for left, center, and right, 2 of the subwoofers, 1 of these amps for an entire 7.2 system. So let's go ahead and get this thing set up and I'll give you some thoughts and impressions. As you can see, I'm in my home theater surrounded by the PSBs. I've put the bigger PWM3s behind my screen, the PWM2s are being used as side surrounds, and the smaller ones are behind me. Everything is going to be hooked up to a Trinov Altitude processor, and the speakers are powered by a McIntosh amp. And of course, the subwoofers have their own amp. There's even a preset in the amplifier specifically for this model sub, as well as a few other ones, or you can use the flat EQ preset. So what we're going to do is play a few demos with the subwoofers on and with them off. So I will run the speakers full range with the subs off and with them crossed over at 80 Hz with the subs on. The first demo we're going to check out is from A Quiet Place Part 2. It's the part towards the beginning when they're walking down the wooded path. There's nothing really crazy going on in the scene, but it's a real good demo for immersive ambiance. What I like about this demo is it shows how transparent your speakers can be. I know some folks think that a titanium dome tweeter can sound harsh or a bit bright, but I found the titanium tweeters in these PWM speakers to play very smooth up top with plenty of area extension. It's not harsh or tinny in any way. And with a scene like this that relies on very subtle effects, you want your speakers to pick up the tiny little nuances, like you'd hear it as if you were outside in real life. I was hearing insects, the sand underneath the kids' feet while they're taking steps, and the rustling of trees in the background. So the space I was seeing on screen translated perfectly through the speakers. They're cohesively natural sounding without drawing your attention towards any one speaker, and this is partly due to being timbre matched, so they all sound pretty much exactly the same. If you were to mix and match brands, sometimes one set of speakers could sound radically different than others in the system. You wouldn't want to match a clip center channel and PSBs as your left and rights. It wouldn't sound natural at all. And since we're talking about these speakers being timbre matched, they aren't perfectly matched since the bass output is going to be different between the three different sizes. The larger ones obviously having more bass. I also found the PWM3s to have a slightly brighter top end over the two smaller models. The PWM2s and 1s tweeters sounded exactly the same, but the 3 was a tiny bit more detailed. I only noticed this because I set up each one of these speakers in my 2-channel setup. Otherwise, for movies in a multi-channel system, I doubt you're going to hear a difference. Another good way to test out how well your speakers match each other is by using the DTS-X channel callout demo.
Left front, right front, center, left side surround, right side surround, left rear, right rear.
Next demo we're going to check out is Midway. This is a knockout demo with a bunch of front to back and side to side panning effects. The sound movement between each channel was flawless with a little more bass up front if you're not going to use a subwoofer, but adding the subs into the mix, it was a perfectly blended 5-channel soundstage. Keep in mind that these subwoofers are fairly slim and very compact, and they're not going to dig super deep. They'll give you some excellent response at about 30 Hz on up, but they're not going to rattle the pictures off your walls. That's not what these subs are designed to do. You can actually hang these on your walls or even slide them under your couch to keep them out of the way and out of sight. Now, if you had the space, you could pair up a subwoofer to each one of the speakers to make each channel full range. That'd be pretty killer. And one more thing I wanted to test out was how good using the PWM3 was as a center channel.
The first order was just the beginning. I will give you so much more.
You'll die first.
I have died before. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
For a speaker this slim and shallow, the Emperor's voice was fairly chesty sounding and really projected itself. It doesn't dig as deep as some larger center channels I've tested, but given the size, it's pretty impressive. And like I said earlier, if you wanted to mount one of these subwoofers next to it, it'd be one of the most capable center channels out there. At the time of this video, the PWM3 is selling for $2,750 each. The PWM2 is $100 each. The PWM1 is $900 each. The CSIR sub is $1,300 each. And this C500 subwoofer amplifier is $1,200. Depending on your configuration, it could get pretty pricey or really manageable. Now, the system isn't designed to reach maximum SPL or be made to bother your neighbors, although it wouldn't have a problem doing that. They're really aimed to be in a living room space like in a family room next to a TV. They're slim, take up zero floor space, and virtually disappear in your room. They also share some similarities with their higher-end PSB Synchrony models, so I figured they'd be worthwhile to put in a dedicated theater space. And if you've been following the channel, I've been putting off doing this review because I didn't want to give these things back so soon. These are fantastic sounding speakers for not only home theater, but for two-channel listening as well. They've got a very detailed top end that leans slightly on the brighter side of neutral with a very wide, airy soundstage. I found the mid-range smooth, which gave not only the center channel good presence, but made surround channels come to life as well. Now, they do lack any meaningful bass, so if you're into big action movies, you're definitely going to need a subwoofer or two or more. I appreciated the output the CSIR subwoofers could belt out, but for me personally, I'd pair the PWMs with one of PSB's bigger subwoofers, or just about any big subwoofer in general. Of course, if you want the cleanest, most inconspicuous install, the CSIR subs are going to be tough to beat because they're so flexible on placement. But with the few months that I've had with the PWMs as my daily speakers, I can say these aren't just speakers meant for living room installs. If you've got a decent audio setup, these speakers are very revealing, and I'd recommend them for not only family rooms, but also dedicated high-end home theaters. So what are your thoughts on PSB speakers? Have you heard them and how do you like their sound? Leave a comment down below and let me know. Now, if you do want to pick up any one of these speakers, I'll leave some links for them down below in the video's description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. If you want, you can find us on Patreon and also on social media. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you again in the next video.